Welcome back to another episode of the KarterKast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. On today's show, college football Week 7 preview, the day every college football fan has circled on their calendars, October 12th. We preview the games. We start off recapping what a crazy upset weekend it was in Week 6 of college football. Vanderbilt's massive win over Alabama. Arkansas upsetting Tennessee. We get into all that. Dylan does his top 5 power rankings. I do my top 5 quarterbacks. And we preview the biggest games of the year: Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, OU, Penn State, USC, Ole Miss, LSU, Colorado, K-State, BYU, Arizona. We name it, we talk about it. And stay tuned to the very end for our KarterKast Week 7 parlay. Download SeatGeek, use code KarterKast, $20 off your first purchase. Let's get into the show. We're live. College football Week 7 preview, is that what it is now?
We're back.
Oh my goodness, I'm losing track. It's just to the point where I'm like, it's the October 12th games that we're doing.
Line up the NFL on college weeks, please. It would make everybody's life so much easier if they just lined up.
And I could do without Week 0, I'll be honest. Like, this year was fun.
Come on. You say that in the middle of October.
No, hear me out. Hear me out. Just say Week 1. Just make it Week 1. And just
line up.
The data analyst inside of me loves like the 0 indexed start. Like
I don't like how they're one apart.
0.
I don't like how they're 1 apart though. If they're 2 apart, I think I could keep track of them better. Maybe that's dumb football brain. I can't do math.
Yeah, because we're doing week
number.
Week 6 recap for college, then we're doing Week 6 preview for the NFL. It's like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah, but then I'd be like, oh, Week 6 NFL, Week 8 college. Yeah, I would always know. It's like in basketball, you're like, it's in when you're playing pickup basketball, you're like, I don't know the score, but I know we're up 2. That's how that works.
Well,
you're like, we got 16. What do y'all got?
14.
Yeah, exactly.
14.
But we're live today. Let's start off a little bit of recap. Vandy beats Alabama. That happened on Saturday. I feel like there's not a big enough freak out about this. I understand Vandy, not a bad football team. This isn't the Vandy team of the past. The Vandy team of the past would never even sniff Alabama.
Yep.
Vanderbilt beat Alabama, number 1 ranked Alabama. Biggest hangover spot I think we may have ever seen in this sport, with Alabama defeating Georgia, dominating them for a half, and then coming in, go to Nashville, go to Vandy, bottom dweller SEC Vandy, and honestly just got smacked in the face. That's what happened, Connor.
This is the same Vandy that we were betting over 2.5 wins on. What, last year? This is the same Vandy that has their stadium half
3
finished
this year. Yeah.
Yeah. The most shocking thing about this game, number one, I'm glad they pulled it off. I thought it was going to be one of those things where Alabama scored late and then squeaked by and escaped. Vandy dominated this game. If you look at some of the numbers, time of possession, this is the one that's been talked about a lot. Vandy had the ball for over 42 minutes compared to Alabama's 18. It was a domination, ground and pound, controlled game script, time of possession, and also Jalen Milroe. I don't know how concerned you guys are with him. I'm not putting too much stock into his play, but he did have 2 turnovers against a Vandy defense that had only forced 3 through the first 4 games. I don't know. We can talk about Jalen Milroe in the quarterback rankings. And also, Ryan Williams is awesome. But the one note I had is maybe it's not too reliable when your best player is 17 and you're Alabama and your best player is 17 years old. Like, that's awesome. It's a great piece to have. But if that's your best offensive weapon, are you really going to get a performance on a week-to-week basis of him breaking out every single week? I don't know. I just can't believe how dominant Vandy actually was. It wasn't a fluke. If you would have told me to not look at any number, not watch a snap of the game and say, Vandy beat Alabama, I would say, fluke. Pick 6, missed kicks, something must have happened. But no, it wasn't.
I think you're exactly right. And the problem with the bigger, I don't think this is a Milroe issue, right? You talked about the time of possession. He didn't have time to do anything. He didn't have time to put this game in his hands. It was what worries me about Alabama moving forward. Number 1, Kalen DeBoer, right? You see number 13 at the end of the game just throwing an absolute hissy fit on the field. If that happened during the Saban era, somebody's head would be on a stick and they would be marching down Tuscaloosa just with his head on that stick. That is something
Game of Thrones style.
It would have been absolutely insane under Saban. That's a huge problem. You also, the defense, like you guys said, it just got absolutely murdered. Just
166 rush yards by Vanderbilt.
They lost up front. When's the last time we've ever had a conversation about an Alabama team that lost up front?
Michigan.
That's true. But that you had an awful center. That McLaughlin was an awful center. That was all
also
his
Michigan
fault.
had the best defense in the country.
Yes, 100%. But I mean, this is in terms of the upsets that happened. This isn't one. It doesn't make me necessarily super concerned about Alabama. I think Jalen Milroe is going to be fine. We saw his floor this week. I think is more than fair to say. I don't think it gets much worse than that. He just didn't have time to do anything. But yeah, ultimate hangover spot. And like you said, last point I'll make. This isn't Vandy of years past. Diego Pavia is a pretty good quarterback, and it's not Vanderbilt being 40-point underdogs. Now 22 is still a lot, but this is not the podunk Vanderbilt team we've seen the last 3 years.
100%. And also to the Vandy point, give them so much credit because they didn't keep their foot off the gas. They didn't say, "Okay, we got the lead. Let's chill out. Let's chill out." When it was time to, hey, you got to go for it. You got to make a big pass. They were playing ballsy till the very end. And this is a great example of Kentucky could have beaten Georgia. Look what Vanderbilt did. When you're an inferior opponent like this, you have to take the big risks. You have to go it on fourth downs. You have
nothing to lose.
Fake punt. You have to do these weird things to win these games. Guess what? If Kentucky goes for it on that 4th and 8, we're talking about Kentucky. We're talking about a 2-loss Georgia team already, probably.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Vanderbilt, they took the risks. They dominated this game, like you guys mentioned. They outgained them. They were running the ball all over this Alabama defense. That was the concerning part for me. And also, Kalen DeBoer, we mentioned this, and shout out Brandon Walker, Barstool Sports, said this all offseason. When Alabama was going to get their first loss, Tuscaloosa was going to melt down. We talked about this in every preview show where, okay, how are they going to handle when DeBoer loses a game that Saban wouldn't lose? Because that's going to happen, and we saw it. And it was 9-1-1 meltdown in Alabama. And people are going to say, oh, well, now this stinks now. This should kick Alabama out of the playoff. Now it just devalues the regular season. This stinks now and all this stuff. I don't think it would have mattered this year.
Can I make a point real quick? I like, not to get too much into the playoff talk, but Alabama losing this game in years past might would have meant they'd missed out on the 14 playoff. Guess what?
Yeah.
Alabama's one of the 12 best teams in the country. I want to see them in the college football playoff. So I'm, new format kicking in. Here we go. If they lose a game like this, they're still going to be playing in December and January.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bad week for the extended playoff haters. One point I want to make, I want to make a point and ask a question that I love to ask. Number one, this loss, in my opinion, I think says a lot about Kirby Smart and his issues just playing Alabama. Like 1-6 in his career, and you get an Alabama team that beats you and then goes and loses as a 22-point favorite. It says a little bit about Kirby. My question I want to ask, this game, does it say more to you about Alabama or Vanderbilt?
I think it says more to me about Vanderbilt, just actually being competitive. I think that's the right side of this. And in an era of transfers like Diego Pavia and all these other people, I think we're going to start seeing this more and more where these typical bottom dweller programs that we're like, oh, they have no chance against Bama or the powerhouses. They have no chance against Texas or Georgia. All of a sudden, it's going to be more competitive because quarterbacks or skill position players or whoever transfers in to get more playing time or whatever the situation may be coming up from a group of 5. And all of a sudden, it's competitive games. Like, I think we're going to see this more and more in an era where guys are moving around every single season.
Indiana's another great example. Whole JMU team transfers over. You get a quarterback from Ohio, and it's a different game now. Karter,
it tells me more about Vandy for sure. More competitive. This isn't the same Vandy team. They're going to be a great transfer portal destination going forward, where people are like, "Ooh, okay, I'll go play 1 year at Vanderbilt. Maybe we can screw around and upset some teams."
Yeah.
But it does.
You'll be on a national stage. SEC, living in Nashville.
Yeah. I think like it should be warranted that I should be concerned about Alabama because a national title team doesn't lose to Vanderbilt. That you can't. Well, you don't. No, we need to get the stats on this. Has a national title team ever lost as a 22-point favorite?
Well, last year Michigan won the national championship and they went undefeated. So not last year.
Are we in a season this year where I don't want to say nobody's good, but there's nobody that's head and shoulders above the rest of the field? I don't think there's that one team.
I think we'll get beautiful. I think we'll get a good look these next 2 weeks with Texas finally playing Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon. We'll get to see that game, even though that game might not even tell us what we need to know if they're head and shoulders. Because if it's a close game, it's like they're not head and shoulders either one of these teams. So we'll see. Tennessee loses to Arkansas. that was a concerning loss. We talked about the Alabama-Vandy game, which is ironic because we're like, it's not as concerning for Alabama. I was very concerned about Tennessee in this spot because Nico's age really showed in this game, not just on that last drive, but throughout the game. He looked rattled the entire game, and Fayetteville is a tough place to play, but that last play, you can say experience. You can say, oh, man, it's experience. Give him a break. That's inexcusable. Whether you're a freshman, that's not even a freshman mistake. You throw that ball 100 times out of 100. You throw that ball. You might as well have taken a knee in that spot.
That is something we talked about it with the Tennessee-Oklahoma game, what I wanted to see from Nico, and he impressed me there. Everything that he did in that Oklahoma game was kind of washed away by what happened against Arkansas. And it's sad to say because I really wanted him to do well, but you go to a tough place to play like Arkansas and you lose, and especially that gaffe at the end of the game, you can't just – I don't know if it was just he didn't know what to do, lack of awareness. That was concern. I actually had this as the most concerning upset, the Tennessee losing to Arkansas.
Yeah, and I think that's valid because the note I wrote down is everything we were worried about when they played Oklahoma. We previewed that game a couple weeks ago. We were like, on the road, SEC defense, tough environment. First time Nico's really going to see this as a starting quarterback, and he performed. But then all of it came to fruition against Arkansas this past week. This is what we were scared of. Tough environment, night game like that, prime time. And I'm not too worried about Nico moving forward, though, because he's so young. They might just be a year away. Like, okay, Tennessee's not going to win the national title when he's a freshman starting. That's fine. They're going to be awesome next year. They're going to be awesome 2 years from now. Like, I'm not that worried about Nico in the future, but maybe this year Tennessee's just maybe a year away. They're going to be fun. They're still going to. They're probably one of the best 12 teams in college still, but they're not going to win a national championship.
My issue with this game was it wasn't lucky by any means from Arkansas. There wasn't a lucky turnover. 0 turnovers in this game. It was just flat out they mucked it up and they just grinded it out and won the game. And Nico couldn't make the big play when it mattered. That's the question we all had. And Nico hasn't been forced to make those big plays because the defense murders NC State. Oklahoma had no shot in that game because that defense was so dominant. And then it's time, okay, Nico, now this is really SEC game on the road. You're down. It's time to make a play. And he couldn't. He looked rattled. I'm not saying that can't be changed going forward, but it was concerning. I love Tennessee. I still think they're in a weird spot this week against Florida. Because you say it's a Florida bounce back spot. They're a 17.5 point a Tennessee bounce back spot, 17.5 point favorite. But tell you what, Billy Napier wins that game in Knoxville. Is he sneaky looking at a little extension?
Save his job. This is coach for your job game.
It really is.
Is Billy Napier the best college football head coach? That's a question we'll be asking if they win.
Don't get up.
Let's touch on real quick, and then we'll start previewing some games. Miami escaped Cal. I don't know how. I don't know how this happened. Miami just keeps doing this. The best thing that could ever happen to Miami is just get that loss out of the way. It's like in college basketball where you're rolling into March. You've been so hot January, February. It's almost a good thing to lose that first week of March before conference tournament time or lose in the conference tournament because you're like, man, this team's running a little too hot right now. There's a lot of holes that need to be fixed. I think a loss might wake them up. I think that's so true with this Miami team right now.
That was crazy. I was watching that. They were down 35-10. And I was like, you know what? Time to go to bed. Let's flip this off. But insane. One thing I wanted to ask real quick before we get into previews. Michigan losing to Washington. Dylan, I just want your thoughts real quick on that because I wrote down that was my least concerning upset of the weekend because we know Michigan's bad. We know who they are.
No, actually, Michigan is now 0-0, right? And we talked about this.
Oh,
so a 25-year-old comes in now. They're going to get a 30-year-old next week to play quarterback.
They're not 0-0.
Running out.
They're 0-0.5.
No, that's not true because Tuttle came in down 14-0 and Michigan outscored them once he came in 17-13. So technically they should be 1-0 under Jack Tuttle, but I'm not going to give him that credit. Listen, there's a lot of things to touch on here. Will Rogers is a great quarterback. I've always been in on Will Rogers, even in his time at Mississippi State. Completes passes, lets his playmakers make plays. Sharon Moore, another masterclass, right? You look like you're about to lose a game with Alex Orji, the precedent that was set with Florida State in the college football playoff. You now have to assess this Michigan team with Jack Tuttle as a completely different Michigan team. They're 0-0 heading into the bye week. Huh? What?
Nothing.
I'm trying to do the YouTube where you double tap the screen to go 10 seconds ahead.
That's brutal.
Here's what I'll say real quick. Jack Tuttle now at quarterback. We looked competent. We have a passing threat. We have Illinois ranked game. We have Oregon at home. We have at Ohio State, and we have Indiana. That's going to be 4 ranked matchups. We run the table. We can't win the conference, but if we run the table, that's 4 great wins. We have a quarterback now that can throw. So 0-0 new season, right? And Washington fans, if you're watching this, storming the field is a 3-point favorite. What are we doing here? This is you could get people injured storming the field, and you're doing it when you're a 3-point favorite at home. Low stuff from Washington.
Yeah, you would love Duke basketball. You would
low
love
stuff
Duke
from
basketball.
Washington.
Yeah. Also, Washington, they should have put that game away early in the fourth quarter. Make a field goal. Come on. That game could have been over way earlier, and I'm not having to sit there and stress out Washington money line. Cash.
When you have a defense like that, it gets in their head. It's like, I got to get this off quick. So Michigan's back, baby.
I have some concerns about Michigan's defense. I think they have some good talent, but I don't know. There's some holes there.
They have 6 players projected in the first round this year. They're going to be a good defense no matter what.
Will Johnson, number 1 overall
Pull
pick.
the graphics out.
I've seen it mocked.
Okay.
Mark and Philly. Shout out Mark and Philly.
Last 2 things. USC, they stink. They stink. Yes, they do.
Minnesota's bad. You can't lose that game. Every time Miller Moss goes to a real Big Ten defense, he blows chunks. So we can talk about that. Minnesota, Michigan.
That's true.
Two bad games.
That's fair. You're right. Okay. That's a good way to get me on board.
Last thing, Missouri. Look, it's Kyle Field, tough place to play. You going against another ranked opponent, barely ranked opponent. Missouri season's done in my eyes. That just exposed everything because they have been terrible this season. Brady Cook has been so inaccurate this season. It's a different quarterback. He's not the same person anymore. People didn't realize that, and A&M with the spread was free money this past weekend. They got absolutely murdered. I have zero faith in this Missouri team doing anything this season.
They damn near lost to Vandy in double overtime last week.
They should have.
So,
they also should have lost to Boston College if Boston College couldn't shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah. Missouri fraud watch for sure. Actually, maybe fraud alert.
Fraud alert. I know. All right, we're ready to preview one of the biggest slates of the season.
Oh yeah,
we're in for it the next 2 weeks. We are in for it. It is awesome.
I know. If you have a wedding in the next couple weeks, that's crazy. I mean, you can't be having a wedding at October 12th or 19th. That's just out of here. That's just crazy. All right, before we preview games really quickly, Dylan, top 5 power rankings, week 6/7 edition.
Yeah, we'll go 5-1. I tweeted out. No clue what I'm going to do here with everybody that lost. So I made an attempt here. We'll start at 5. We'll go up to 1. Number 5, I went Alabama. They have the most impressive win this year. Jalen Milroe, I think we saw his floor against Vandy. This isn't a Vandy team of years past. We touched on that game already. I'm not that worried about Alabama moving forward. They still have a top quarterback. Defensively, there are some issues, but I like Alabama. I'm going them at 5. Number 4, Miami, undefeated. Sure, they've had some close ones, but Cam Ward is a Heisman contender. Defense worries me a little bit, but they've won all the games in front of them, and that's all you can do, right? Can I get a verbal confirmation?
That's fair.
Yes.
That's all fair. You can do. Penn State, number 3, again, won all of the games in front of them. Drew Aller has... What?
No, please continue. Just had a reaction there.
Penn State, obviously, a lot of their work is in front of them. They have Ohio State. They have one other big game. I can't remember. But Drew Aller's looked a lot better than he has in years past, and I like what's going on there. Number 2, Texas, undefeated. Their biggest win was having a bye. And then we touched on that in the NFL recap. The biggest win for Texas was not having to play last week. Quinn Ewers looks like he'll be back for the Red River Rivalry, R-Cubed. Texas number 2. And then number 1, Oregon. They've handled their business. This is a Boise State team they beat in week 2. Everybody's like, oh, they only beat Boise. Well, they have one of the Heisman favorites, and they're ranked like top 15, I think. So that win's looking better and better as the year goes by. And they're going to have a chance to prove it. They are going to have a chance to prove it this week. First 5 out. Number 6, Michigan, * Tuttle. When Tuttle's the starting quarterback, Michigan's the 6th best team. 0-0. Could be 1-0 because they outscored Washington.
It's a great spin zone.
7, Georgia. 8, Tennessee. 9, Clemson. boy, did we overreact to that first game. They're actually not a bad team. And number 10, Ohio State. Works in front of you, buddy. But when you play one away game,
whoa, Ohio
tough.
State went from barely in the top 25 to 10.
Yeah, I'll give them. Iowa's a tough defense, and they scored 35. In no world should you have let them score a touchdown, but that's a big win. But you have one away game that's Michigan State. I mean, that's a hop, skip, and a jump from Columbus, and you have no ranked wins, so I can't put them any higher than 10. But that, again, could change this week.
Did you see the ESPN article where they're like doing the recaps on games really quickly, and they're like, oh, you can't let Iowa score a touchdown on you. And then they're like, actually, this Vanderbilt loss, not bad.
It's more than fair, right? I think the guys over at ESPN do great work. So I like what they had to say there.
I know it's a fluid situation. If Ohio State beats Oregon this week, is there any chance they crack your top 5?
No. Are they number 1?
Well, I know they're not going to be number 1.
Let's say Ohio State wins by 20 points.
They will not. Personal Dylan guarantee they will not be number 1 no matter how bad they beat Oregon.
Okay, well then, okay. I thought you were going to sit there and say they won't win by 20
but
points.
They will. That's true too. They're not going to win this week. But I would have no option but to put them in the top 5. I couldn't. Not even for
we
the
love
bit,
an honest journalism.
5.
Thank you, Dylan.
Yeah, I'll put them in top 5.
Top 5 quarterbacks real quick. I'll go through this very, very swiftly. Number 5, Quinn Ewers. Number 4, Shedeur Sanders. Number 3, Jackson Dart. Number 2, Jalen Milroe. And number 1, Cam Ward still.
I did not think I was going to see Jalen Milroe on that list after last week. Look at you, Karter. Either he didn't prep and he forgot about it, or he's coming to his senses.
No, I prepped. That's for sure. I watched that whole Vandy game. It wasn't on Milroe.
It wasn't his fault.
Defense.
No.
So
it was really
will
on
we
defense.
will we see Carson Beck on that list the rest of the season, or is he done for you?
I don't know, man. He's got to play. We'll see. That Texas game will be a big indicator, because I think that Texas defense is one of the best in the country, and if Beck can do damage on that defense in Austin, then that's his draft stock game. That game has so many implications for him, where if he can go into that game and he can put up 300, 400 yards and have a huge night in Texas, then he can move himself into a top 10, top 5 pick again. But that's the game. That's got to change the perception of him, because it's cute. You can throw for 250 and not any turnovers against Auburn at home. I need to see you do it in a big game on the road. And he really hasn't done that yet in his career, to be honest. So, but anyhow, let's do this, Dylan. You ready?
Sneak this.
What are we doing?
All right, for our producer, this is where you want to clip the preview right here. Ohio State, Oregon. Ohio State, a 3.5-point favorite on the road in Eugene.
Open to 4.5. Open to 4.5. Just want to make that publicly known as well.
Well, you could have waited.
Sorry,
I'm introducing the game.
Yeah, this is bad. This is bad casting, Dylan. Come on.
All right, no, and we're leaving this in here. You got, people are going to say trouble in paradise. Like, no, this is just a show.
Behind the scenes, these guys can't work together. Not only one ball.
I've single-handedly reduced Carter's clip workload. There's no way he's getting rid of me now. I've job security.
Only one mic at a time.
I don't have to. He gets to edit half the clips.
Dylan knows I would never do anything to Dylan. Ohio State, Oregon. Ohio State, a 3.5-point favorite. The total's 53 in this game. The game's in Autzen, in Eugene, Oregon. Dylan, your number 1, Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, should be everyone's number 1. They've looked great. Dylan Gabriel has graded out very well. I do want to make a point. Oregon has already beaten the real OSU. So this game is kind of like a consolation to them, because they beat Oregon State, remember, at Oregon State earlier in the year. Obviously, the storylines, Ohio State, this is their first real away game. Like, you want to go Michigan State, fine. They're going to have to travel across the country and go play at Oregon. We've seen early returns as that has caused trouble for Big Ten teams, their first trip out west. Oregon's just had a tougher schedule here. Oregon's played the tougher teams. You look at Ohio State, they start very, very easy in the front with Akron and Western Michigan. You could make a case. That Akron is the worst team in college football. You could make a legitimate case that they're the worst team in college football. And you want to say, oh, well, Oregon's played Idaho, right? Well, Idaho might be favored against. They might be favored against Akron on a neutral field, if we're being completely honest. I don't want to start.
What?
I don't want to start. I don't want to start this game. I want one of you two to go first.
Karter, go ahead.
I want to hear what you say.
All right, so I wrote down a couple points here. I wrote down Oregon hasn't been very convincing this year. I've been trashing a lot of these NFL teams for not having a convincing win. I'm going to have the same energy for college. Oregon hasn't had a start to finish game that I'm like, man, they looked awesome. Oregon State, maybe. But against Michigan State, they won by 21. Sure, still a couple mistakes from Dylan Gabriel that had me raising my eyebrows. I was like, wait a second, that probably shouldn't happen. Ohio State, they've rolled so far. They've given up 34 total points through their first 5 games. Yes, though, when you mentioned the schedule, but that defense nationally, first in pass yards per play and third in opponent pass yards per game. So the defense has been rolling. Here's the thing. I think 3.5 points for Ohio State on the road in Eugene, top 3 matchup, I think it's too many points. I think the talent's there for this Oregon team. I think we've seen the explosive plays. We've seen the blueprint, and I am still a believer in Dylan Gabriel. I think he has another gear he can get to. I think in a big game like this, he will rise to the occasion. I think this is also a letdown spot for Ohio State. They haven't been tested yet. Yes, Oregon's had these tough games against Idaho or Boise State where they haven't looked convincing, but they've won those games. At least they've been tested. Ohio State has not had a close game yet. I think this is going to be a big spot for them, major letdown spot. I like Oregon to win this weekend. I think Oregon is coming out on top. I think this is a huge spot for them, getting 3.5 points at home in Eugene, tough place to play. Dylan Gabriel's Heisman candidacy starts this weekend.
I love it. I remember that you picked Oregon to win the Big Ten. So I was like, oh, is he going to flip-flop on me here?
Nope.
Is he, what are we going to do here? Okay.
I'm holding true.
I was hoping you'd give me some anti-Ohio State stuff. Here's what I will say. You talk about how good Ohio, they're allowing however many pass yards. They're doing X, Y, Z. The offenses that they played, Akron, 133rd, Marshall, 100th, Michigan State, 95. Throw on top of that, you have the Chili's guy that just turns the ball. He doesn't care who he's throwing to. No matter what color the jersey is, he's going to throw the ball to him. And then, surprisingly enough, Iowa, 34th, and then Western Michigan, 23rd. You have to think those might be a little skewed based on the competition that they have played. What this comes down to here, the competition they've played, Boise State, we talked about it. Oregon beat Boise State, and at the time, everybody was like, oh, they can't even handle Boise State. They have a Heisman favorite at running back. This is a team that's now ranked. They're in the top 20, top 15. That win is looking better and better and better as the weeks go by. But where this matchup is decided for me is at the quarterback position. It is at the quarterback position. And I spoke all year how Will Howard, as a passing threat, is a lateral move from Kyle McCord. Will Howard's not a better passer. And he wasn't a great passer at Kansas State. What they wanted was somebody that could get it done on the ground, and that's where his advantage was over McCord. Both of these defenses are going to be able to get pressure. Both of them. These offensive lines, The right side of this Ohio State offensive line isn't that great. I think that's where their deficiency is. And Oregon's offensive line has not been as good as I thought it was going to be. Which quarterback is going to perform under pressure? Do you think Will Howard's going to scramble out, or do you think that Dylan Gabriel is going to be able to make plays happen? Dylan Gabriel, 2% turnover-worthy play rate. Howard, 3.5%. What this comes down to, how these quarterbacks play under pressure, you look at passer rating. And you can, on PFF, you can go, I think, max 200 entries. Passer rating when under pressure. Gabriel on the Will Howard's not even on the first page. So if you get pressure on Will Howard and you make him throw, the guy can't throw down the field. It's all Oregon here. You have 2 guys on Oregon's defensive line, Harmon and Burns, that are going to just make life miserable for Will Howard. This is Oregon. It's Oregon big. Oregon by 3 scores. This isn't even close. There's
3 scores?
3 scores. There's a huge talent gap here, and Dylan Gabriel, far and away the better quarterback. He can throw the ball down the field. Will Howard can't.
I can get behind that.
Give me Ohio State. Give me Ohio State. You mentioned, okay, they haven't played great offenses. They haven't been battle tested yet. Sure, absolutely. They've played against crap teams, Well, Iowa, not a crap team.
Yeah.
Western Michigan, not a big fan of. And also, I think their offensive stats are inflated.
Can I break news? Break news. This is legit. Jets have fired head coach Robert Saleh. I'm dead serious. Guys,
That's awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
That's
great.
So funny. Oh, that's Ari Marov, too. Oh, okay. That stinks that had to happen during the Oregon-Ohio State talk. But that was awesome.
Yeah. That's crazy that already happened.
I would have not expected that.
I thought he'd get half a season at least.
That's wild.
They gave him a long... they gave him a... Okay, anyway, we don't have to... We do that on the NFL.
Nathaniel Hackett is going to be the interim coach?
There will be a new head coach for Monday night's game versus Buffalo. Holy crap.
Wow.
No way it's Bill Belichick, right? No way Bill Belichick, right? No way.
I don't hate that.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
All right,
but
yeah.
that was
we're good.
That was a good
worth
one.
it.
Did I redeem
That was worth
myself?
it. Yeah, you've been fine.
Okay, all right.
I just don't want to hear like Mike Vrabel got tickled. I don't want to hear that. As breaking news.
Okay,
Ohio
all right.
State here. They played against bad offenses. Iowa, not a great offense. You can say, oh, well, they're 34th, whatever. We know this. We know who Cade McNamara is. My issue is I think this Oregon defense is fake. I don't think this is a good Oregon defense. Maybe good. They're not a great defense. Their stats seem inflated because they've also gone against horrific offenses besides Boise State. And you look
Not
at
true. That's not true. Oregon State, they're a top 50 offense. They've played better offenses than Ohio State has.
Okay, who's Oregon State played?
Am I an encyclopedia here? I don't know off the top of my head every team they played.
Apparently, because you're going 0.21469.
I can only go off my notes.
Oregon's defense is fake to me because if you watch, I rewatched the entire Boise State game to prepare for this because I guarantee you that's what Ohio State's doing too. I guarantee you they're watching the
run the
Boise
ball
State game
because your quarterback can't throw.
The issue is in that game was Oregon won that game through special teams. Oregon's special teams was unbelievable in that spot. And you look at Boise State. Yes, they have Ashton Jeanty, great running back, Heisman caliber running back. But also, Boise State has zero passing threat. That Maddox Madsen is not a great quarterback. Zero passing threat. And Boise State had so much success on the ground. Oregon's not going to have that same success in special teams where they get a kick return touchdown and they're getting in positive territory. They were getting in Boise State territory after every punt, it seemed like. Dylan Gabriel was working with short fields constantly in that game. Therefore, and we also talk about this Ohio State defense. This is a elite defense, one of the best in the country. Last season, they were one of the best in the country. And guess what? Coming into this year, they're the same thing. We know what this defense is. Oregon's defense was not great last year. You can say transfer portal, new guys, whatnot. I think this is a bit of a fake Oregon defense. I think Ohio State's going to be able to control the clock. They're going to run the ball nonstop. Who do I trust throwing the ball? I probably trust Dylan Gabriel a little bit more.
A lot more, Karter. This is and not just a little more; it's a lot more. Will Howard can't throw the ball more than 20 yards down the field. Once you see him throw air yards past 20, his rating drops significantly. And the point, he has the best wide receivers in college football. Emeka Egbuka is wide receiver 1 at half of the D1 colleges in college football, and he's working with Jeremiah Smith, who one-handed catches. I like to joke, but he's been a great wide receiver. He still can't throw the ball down the field. And this is against Akron, Western Michigan, Marshall, Michigan State. But these are against bad defenses. He can't throw the ball.
But the caveat is he hasn't had to.
And that's what scares me. We haven't seen it. We have not actually seen it yet, which is why I'm not willing to put my faith in Will Howard. Dylan, I think you hit it perfectly. It comes down to me. If they have the ball, 2 minutes left, and they need to score, am I going to trust Dylan Gabriel or am I going to trust Will Howard? I'm taking Dylan Gabriel, and I'm going to plant my flag on that sinking ship. He hasn't looked awesome this year so far. I think this is the week where he kind of puts the country on notice and is like, wait, Dylan Gabriel, all that preseason hype was warranted. He's arrived. And now I may be dead wrong, and we might look stupid and get 100 million comments saying Oregon sucks, Dylan Gabriel's not a starting quarterback in this league. But I'm going to plant my flag on it. I trust him more than Will Howard. I think you're right, Dylan.
And Dylan Gabriel is just so much more accurate. You look at his accuracy rate on non-throwaways, 85% compared to Will Howard's like 77. This comes down to the quarterback spot. Both of these teams are going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. And I trust Dylan Gabriel with pressure a lot more than I trust Will Howard with pressure. I trust Dylan Gabriel to open the game up down the field more than I trust Will Howard. The only way that I could rationalize an Ohio State win here would be they throw the ball 15 times. It's a bunch of Will Howard designed runs, and you let your running backs your running back that you went out and paid who knows how much money for do your work for you. And it'd be a slugfest where Ohio State wins like 17-14. The only way, if Ohio State has to attack the air, it's not happening for Ohio State. It just is not.
But I don't think they're going to have to.
And maybe that's where we reach our agreement, is because that's the only way they win is if they don't have to attack the air.
I think the 1-2 punch of Henderson and Judkins is equal to Ashton Jeanty, and we saw what Jeanty could do against this Oregon defense. They're going to have success on the ground in this game. If Oregon goes up 14, Will Howard's going to have to throw the ball a ton. Yes, that's where I have concerns, but I think they're going to have success on the ground, and they're going to have success early on.
The only issue I have with that is you talk about the combination of Judkins and Henderson, and that's fine, but you can only run one of those guys at a time.
And and that's the thing. I'm excited about either one of those on the field. They bring something different.
They are both half of the running back that Jeanty is.
Half?
They're half.
No, they are.
You can only run one of those guys at a time. So you want to talk about how deep the running back room is? It's fine.
Yeah, and guess what? They're going to be more rested, and they're going to have more energy on plays. I'm very fine with either one of those guys taking snaps, and it just concerns me so much that this Oregon defense, the one half decent offense they played, they got taken to the ropes, and their special teams had to bail them out in that game. That's not going to happen again. And also,
Aiden Childs, good offense, right?
Oh my gosh,
explosive.
Connor,
Crazy.
we have Michigan State over 4.5 wins. That's going to give me a heart attack by the end of the season.
We might be cooked.
I think it cashes, but it is going to be the cash in the worst way possible.
I think you're right.
Oh my gosh, I can't stand watching him play quarterback, to be honest. I was excited. I was like, I saw the few plays at Oregon State last year. I was like, this guy's exciting. Holy crap, dude! I cannot stand watching him play football sometimes. But that's the half decent offense, and also that's my argument. There is Maddox Matson is a much worse quarterback than Will Howard.
No, I don't even think I'd go as far to say that.
I would.
I really don't even think I'd go as far.
You haven't watched a down of Boise State. You are just looking at stats.
I don't know. I've not seen anything from Will Howard. I've not seen anything from Will Howard that would show me that he is.
I trust Ohio State in this spot. I think they have the better defense. I think the defense travels. I think the running backs are going to have a massive day on the ground. And Jeremiah Smith, he's so good, Dylan. He's so good.
Missed that flat in the first game of the year. I mean,
Michigan wide receivers, they don't even need wide receivers at Michigan.
No, just tight ends. It's big boy football.
They need to run that V formation they did in like the 1930s and just have like everybody push the line down. One thing about Oregon that's encouraging, they've been able to run the ball better recently. Jordan James, 166 yards last game. Just the explosive runs, I've seen more of that than I saw early on from Oregon. So at least they're not completely one-dimensional. I know Ohio State's defense is tough, but Oregon's playmakers are there. The blueprint's there. I'm trusting Dylan Gabriel. I'm planting my flag, guys.
But is UCLA or is Michigan State's defense tough? Not at all.
No, they're not.
But no, they're not.
But tougher than Akron's and Western Michigan's.
What about Iowa?
No, not tougher than Iowa.
Exactly.
You can nitpick if you want.
They had a lot of success against a good Iowa defense. So I like Ohio State in this spot. I think they're going to win outright. I don't think. And people, this is going to get slammed.
They're the favorite. They're the favorite, Karter.
What are you saying?
You say you like Ohio State here?
Yeah.
They're the favorite.
I understand. You didn't let me finish what I was going to say.
All right. Win outright.
I don't think playing at Oregon's this crazy place. I don't think Autzen, people say, Autzen at night. I'm like, did we just say that about every home stadium ever? It's like, it's really tough to win in Columbia, Missouri.
It's Provo at night.
That's different. That's different.
It's different.
That one is different. You get a bunch of sober Mormons screaming at you in altitude. That's a different story.
Horns down, very disrespectful.
That's a slur. That's a slur. Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, Dylan,
I'm just excited, guys.
What are you going to do if Ohio State wins this game?
I don't have to worry about it. I mean, it's not.
You don't have to worry about it.
The game plan is already out in front of Oregon. It's going to be one at the front, blitz. When Will Howard's blitz, like I said, outside of the top 200 in PFF rating, and you might think, well, Dylan, right? Obviously, this can't. Will Howard doesn't have a history of this, right? You were looking at 4 or 5 games. No, he had the same exact problem last year. So this is something that has never. It's not a new thing for Will Howard. You blitz, you get pressure. The right side of the Ohio State offensive line is extremely inept, and they have great defensive linemen to attack it. Will Howard's going to be running for his life. 3 turnovers. Oregon wins this 27-10.
27-10?
27-10.
27-10.
This is when we wake up about Ohio State. There are going to be calls for Ryan Day's job after this.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I'll say no because I understand he's a fine coach. You win 11 games in a year. I mean, come on now. But there will be cause for his job after this.
I don't believe in Oregon's defense. I think Ohio State's going to have so much success on the ground. I think that Judkins and Henderson are going to have a big day, and I think it's going to open up the play action for Will Howard to get Jeremiah Smith the ball. Give me Ohio State 34, Oregon 21.
Wow.
Jeez.
Double digits.
Yep.
Karter. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than you guys. I'm going to play the middleman here. I think Oregon does pull this out, but I think it's going to be a pretty close game, a little bit lower scoring. I like 21-20 for Oregon. I think it's going to be low scoring, but I do think Oregon pulls it out.
Worst case scenario for this game is Ohio State wins 13-10 because then I think all of us look wrong. And that's fine.
No one's right. No one's right.
Well, people would love that. We'd probably get the most views on something we're wrong about, right?
Everybody on this clip is just so dumb.
The Clown Brigade is back.
This is why conference, like the whole conference realignment stuff, this is the one part that is cool about it, but is the watching Cal play SMU in the ACC worth it? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But before we wrap up Oregon, Ohio State, I do want to serious pick something I will be betting. I will be betting Oregon too. I already have under here. I think that Ohio State's going to have no interest in throwing the ball. I think maybe 2 turnovers per team, and it's going to keep the ball in the middle of the field. I like under here a lot.
Also, to the point of Oregon too, Jordan James is a really good running back.
Yeah.
He's a really good running back, and I don't hate the under here. I just think Ohio State scores early, and then Oregon's having to throw the ball a lot, and we start getting a little higher scoring game. I think it's around 55. I think the total's kind of on the money there. I think I got it right. But Connor, any picks in this game besides Oregon?
No, I'm just taking Oregon on the spread plus 3.5. If you're getting that at home, I like that a lot. And you know what? I might ride the under with my good friend Dylan.
What can I say? We're a team here, right?
We are.
Karter?
So, yeah, I think I got to take Ohio State in the over.
Funny guy.
Well, anti-Dylan rhetoric.
It's nothing new. It's nothing new.
It's a podcast, conversation, debate,
It's talk. We talk.
Yeah, just talking. Guys talking ball. Red River Rivalry. Can't believe I said that correctly. Texas OU, Texas minus 14.5. Over under. Only 49.5 in this game. 49.5.
SEC football.
Connor, we got a low total in this one for the first time in a long time.
Listen, I wrote down a note, Karter. I was like, should I just close my eyes and bet the over? If you look at these last few matchups, look at the point totals. 64, 49, 103, 98, 61, 66, 93, 53, 85. You have to go back to 2015 to find a point total that was less than 49 in this game. And I get it. Teams are different this year. Texas's defense is legit. There's questions for Oklahoma at quarterback. I think I'm going to close my eyes and bet the over. This game always delivers. And this is the dumbest, stupidest gambling analysis you can give. This game delivers. I think it's going to be a shootout. It always is. Look at the history.
No, this is a blind over game. Every year
I'm telling you, yes, you have to.
You take the Red River Rivalry over every single time.
Yeah.
It's just blind. You have to take it. And also
49 is a gift. Is a gift.
I know. And I don't care. I do not care that we're going to see John Ewing put out a tweet that's saying 99% of the bets are on the over in this game. I do not care. Jackson Arnold is not playing quarterback for this Oklahoma team. They're going to be able to put up at least 17 points. But when you actually talk about this game, look, this is one of those games where you don't want to you talk about rivalry games. You're like, throw stats out the window because rivalry games, these things get weird. If you talk to any Texas fan right now, they're a 14.5 point favorite. I don't even think they're that confident because they know how weird this game can get. They lost this game last year to Dylan Gabriel in Oklahoma.
And Quinn Ewers hadn't played in a few weeks. Like, this is going to be his first time back. I don't know if you're concerned about rust or what, but 14.5 in a game like this with a quarterback that hasn't played in a few weeks, I don't care if it is Quinn Ewers. That's a ton of points.
But with all that being said, give me Texas with the spread as well. I think Texas absolutely blows this game open. Oh my goodness. You look at every single stat. This is going to be the breaking point for Oklahoma Sooner fans where they go, "Oh my gosh, our biggest rival is the best team in the country. They're number 1 overall. They're undefeated. They just embarrassed us in our biggest game of the season." Brett Venables, he is miles behind Steve Sarkisian. Our recruiting is behind. Our quarterback play is behind. everything is going to be miles behind your biggest rival. You're going to be staring 6-6, 7-5 in the face. Meanwhile, Texas is looking at a national title. This is going to be the biggest wake-up call in Oklahoma Sooner football history, and they're going to want Brent Venables gone immediately after this game, after Texas whoops them in this spot. You look at every stat. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Oklahoma, decent defense. Everything else. What gets you excited about this Oklahoma team? The offensive line is going to get destroyed by this Texas front seven. Texas is going to have success in the air. Texas is going to have success on the ground. I don't see a world where Oklahoma wins this game. The only caveat is rivalry games get weird. This is one game that always gets weird, but I think Texas just rolls in this spot. Give me Texas 52, Oklahoma 17.
Whoa. That was fiery. Dylan, I don't know how you feel about this.
I'm not going to take a side. I lean Texas. I just think Oklahoma's strength, and we talked about this with the Tennessee game, is that defensive line. They're able to create pressure pretty well, but Texas has already handled Michigan's defensive line. And, honestly, it doesn't get much tougher. And that's not me being funny. It's just not going to get much tougher than that. So the one area where I think Oklahoma could expose the game, they're not going to be able to. So I think it's all Texas here. I'm not taking the over.
Dude, Dylan, come on.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Come on.
You might
this
have
is
to.
The week.
You might have to.
Okay, here, I'll make you a
deal.
You
might have to.
DraftKings sends me that big game boost that they usually send on Fridays, 50% profit boost for this game. I'll take the over.
Oh, we'll take that.
Max.
No. $10 max, yeah.
Yeah, $10 max.
Take Isaiah Bond first touchdown if you're able to.
Not legal in Ohio, and I've banned myself from touchdown scorers.
No, you didn't.
I'm done. I'm done with it. It's the worst bet you could ever make.
You're going to text me on Thursday night and go, Kyle, use check anytime touchdown. Let's effing ride.
I forgot the Juice is playing on Thursday night.
Oh, no, I know this, Karter. He's banned himself from touchdown scorers for the next 2 days. Tuesday and Wednesday. He's
rehab period.
Yeah.
Rehab period until Thursday.
Well, rehab period. Isn't there Conference USA tonight?
Yep.
Oh,
football for 50 straight days.
Yeah. Love Texas in this spot, guys.
I want to take Texas. I do, but 14.5 with a quarterback that hasn't played in a few weeks. I know it's Quinn Ewers.
But that's the thing.
That's a lot of points.
Let's say Quinn Ewers goes down. Are you concerned at all? Are you concerned at all that they lose this game?
If Quinn Ewers goes down and Arch Manning comes in and wins this game by a ton, just give him the Heisman. There you go. The narrative will be born.
There are so many good Heisman candidates this year. This is a lot more fun, especially because it's a lot of non-quarterbacks. You have Hunter, you have Gene T, you have Cam Ward. It's a great mix. I think it's awesome. People complaining about Gene T being a group of 5 running back. Shut up.
What he's doing is crazy.
That means you just haven't watched the guy play. Oh my goodness, he dominated Oregon.
The blocking's not even that good for him. If you really watch him, it's just broken tackle after broken tackle after missed tackle. It's nuts.
It's like watching a faster Marshawn Lynch, it feels like. It's unbelievable.
It's like putting the game sliders on Madden or college football at rookie difficulty and then just using the truck stick or something.
Yeah, it's like whenever I'm playing against Florida State and they're ranked number 1 on my dynasty in college football, I'm playing on Heisman. I just can't tackle the running back, and that's how it is. It's just catching GT every single game. But anyhow, let's move on. We've got Ole Miss at LSU in this one. Ole Miss -3 over under 64.5. This is another one where I'm like, okay, I love Ole Miss. But man, I never, ever, ever want to bet against LSU as a home dog at night in Baton Rouge. Whew. And especially we've seen what this Ole Miss team can do. They can put up a stinker or two. But I don't believe in this LSU team. They've struggled against everybody this season. They haven't. Go ahead, Connor.
I was just going to say, this is another ranked matchup with the road team favored by more than a field goal. So we're getting that again. We're getting that multiple times this week, also in the USC game, even though they're not ranked. I think Kentucky's a tough team to play. I'm not putting too much stock into that Ole Miss loss because they did bounce back and only allowed 3 points to South Carolina last week. Here's the stats I wanted to bring up. Ole Miss offense, 2nd nationally yards per game, 4th nationally yards per play. LSU offense, 8th in yards per game, 12th in yards per play. So both offenses, they're great. Here's the deciding factor for me. It's on defense. LSU defense, 59th in opponent yards per game, 77th yards per play. Ole Miss defense, 4th nationally opponent's yards per play, 15th in opponent yards per game. Here's my analysis. I think both offenses are great, high scoring. You're telling me that Garrett Nussmeier, I trust this Ole Miss defense to slow down the LSU offense more than I trust the LSU defense to slow down Jackson Dart.
Yes.
That's my thing.
I agree with that. But I think there's got to be a big old fat caveat with that stat and saying, holy crap, Ole Miss really hasn't played a good offense.
Yep. I was about to say it.
That's fair, but it's not their fault they haven't played a good offense. They play who's in front of them, and they performed well. The defense has performed well.
Same as Ohio State.
And Nussmeier, 2 picks last week in South Alabama. Ole Miss has forced 9 turnovers through 5 games. I don't know. There might be a couple turnovers in this game.
Connor, tell me, are you taking Ole Miss in this spot?
I'm taking Ole Miss -3 in this spot, and I'm going to do it. I'm putting my balls on the table. I know it's LSU Baton Rouge at night. Not trusting Nussmeier. I'm choosing to believe in this Ole Miss defense against LSU.
I'm riding. Give me Ole Miss. You convinced me. Because also, I think I think Monday morning for college football, Sunday night is just going to turn into this coach needs to be fired. This coach needs to be fired. That coach needs to be fired. Brian Kelly and Brett Venables are suspect number 1. They are going.
I agree.
If Lane Kiffin walks into LSU and Jackson Dart, those guys light them up because that defense still stinks. We talked about last season; they were one of the worst defenses in college football. And this year, are you kidding me? Look who they play. They gave up 33. They gave up 33 to Lenora Sellers. They gave up 21 to Nicholls State. USC was driving all over them in that game. UCLA scored 17 points against them. There's no way Jackson Dart doesn't have success. That offense will have success in this game. It's just a matter of who can get the stops. LSU at night is a very weird place. Brian Kelly might be coaching for his job in this spot, but I just don't believe in Garrett Nussmeier and LSU. Every national media person is saying, oh, LSU, they're not that bad. But we're kind of seeing who this USC team is. They lost to them at a neutral field when it was mostly purple at that stadium. They should have lost to South Carolina if the refs didn't choke that game away. This is not a good LSU team.
And I just touched on both the offenses. If this turns into a shootout, guess who I trust in a shootout? Jackson Dart and Ole Miss's offense. And I think Nussmeier's going to throw a pick or two that will probably lose in the game. So that's why I love Ole Miss here. I know it's scary, 3 on the road, but getting this at 3, I think it's worth it to take this. I think LSU is on fraud alert. I think LSU's fraud alert.
It is 2.5.
Oh, give me 2.5.
I know.
2.5 then. I love it even more.
Keep it going.
Perfect.
I don't give a crap about the line movement in this spot. Dylan?
This is LSU offensive line, Ole Miss defensive line, unstoppable force meets immovable object type situation we have here. But LSU defensive line, Ole Miss offensive line, we have stoppable force meets immovable object. Something's got to give. I haven't bet it yet. I don't know if I will. I lean at LSU here. Like you said, Baton Rouge, at night, home field advantage. I like LSU.
Ugh.
I like LSU here.
Also, the biggest question mark for Ole Miss going into this season and throughout this season has been their offensive line, which hasn't been great. But last week they go against South Carolina, who arguably has a top 5, top 10 D-line. No problems there. Not a problem there. So, and I don't think LSU is going to get as much pressure as South Carolina would.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about Kentucky. Like, Kentucky's a tough team. Like, that loss, yes, it looks bad on paper, but if you really dig into it, Kentucky's not bad. Kentucky's not bad.
Kentucky's not a bad team. Let's quickly run through the last few games I want to discuss. Kansas State, Colorado. This game got the night slot, ESPN slot. Kansas State, a 4-point favorite in Boulder. Totals at 56.5, Connor.
This game scares me. I really just want to touch on Colorado because, look, they've looked like a legitimate team these last few weeks.
Have they?
But everything in me screaming take Kansas State.
Because I think UCF is the biggest fraud program we've got right now. Because every year they're like, KJ Jefferson, some new transfer quarterback, he's going to be good. And then they fall apart 10 times out of 10. And then also, Colorado, they won on a Hail Mary against Baylor. They should not have won that game.
I'm with you. And I think Avery Johnson, a guy that can, get it done through the air and on the ground, I think there's a chance he just torches this Colorado defense. I really do. And Shedeur Sanders has been awesome. Kansas State defense has not been great. I lean Kansas State here, Karter. I don't know about you.
I lean Kansas State here, but I don't like it. Like,
it's probably just to stay away.
Because also, is it bad that I say Kansas State feels too easy in this spot, that they're going to be able to run the ball and dominate time of possession?
It does feel that way.
My issue is Kansas State, I don't know their offensive coordinator's name off the top of my head. He gets too cute. They get way too cute. Stop throwing the ball. You probably have the best running quarterback in the country right now. You have DJ Giddens, phenomenal running back. Your run game is awesome. Quit throwing the ball and quit trying to get cute. Oh my goodness. And I don't put that much stock into the BYU Kansas State game. That game just got weird with turnovers. I don't think
Provo at night.
Provo night. One of the weirdest experiences I've ever experienced in my life. But I don't put too much into that game. But also, they did get too cute. They should have been up 14-0 in that second quarter. They just kept trying to throw the ball on second and short and third and short. Run the freaking football. Oh my gosh, especially if you're having success. So that scares me. But I like Kansas State 31-24 in this spot.
Yeah, I think Kansas State pulls it off, too. I've got them 31. We'll go 34-24. We'll get a 10-point win.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'll get
24 for Colorado. Dylan, any thoughts on this game?
No thoughts. Give me Kansas State. Sorry, Colorado. Actually, that's good for Colorado fans. You probably want to see all of a state in Kansas State.
Yeah, you want to see the game.
You want to see Kansas State all across that graphic.
Yeah. USC, Penn State. Penn State's a 5.5-point favorite. This game is in Los Angeles. This is another game where, oh my goodness, they're going to be USC fans are going to be in uproar after they see Lincoln Riley. If he loses to another Big Ten opponent, another elite defense, he goes against a more physical team and loses 100% of the time. We might be talking Lincoln Riley, Brian Kelly, and then Brett Venables. Like, oh my gosh, these guys have got to move on. Even though Lincoln Riley can't, he's got a private jet and half of LA in his pocket.
Well, here's yet again another. I know USC's not ranked now, but another big time matchup where the road team is favored by a field goal or more. Another one of these instances. USC at home, they've been okay, but man, when they've played a real defense, Minnesota, Michigan, a tough, hard-nosed Big Ten defense, Dylan, the ones you love,
blue collar,
they have looked horrible. So you're telling me Miller Moss against this Penn State defense that's ranked 4th in opponent yards per game and 4th in opponent yards per play? No thanks. I'm taking Penn State here. I'm laying the points. I think they're 4.5 right now. I like Penn State in this spot, and USC really losing to Minnesota and Michigan, two subpar offenses at that, doesn't really inspire me. So I like Penn State here. I'll lay the points.
Dylan.
It's tough for me because we talked about how USC's looked against actual defenses, but then you also have Penn State traveling all the way out to California. I think Penn State gets it. I'm pretty high on Penn State. Aller has looked a lot better than the years past, so I would take Penn State here, even with the travel. Why?
That eye test, Penn State offense, Andy Kotelnicki coming over from Kansas, I think he's really rejuvenated that Penn State offense. It doesn't look like it did last year if you just watch the games.
And we're seeing what's happened to Kansas right now.
Yeah.
Jeff Grimes over there, they're a disaster on every side of the ball. This game, I think there's a little credence there, Dylan, into Penn State having to travel to LA, and also James Franklin in a big spot.
How big is this spot, though? This isn't the typical James Franklin letdown spot against like a huge, like a top 10 team, right?
I think his letdown spots are also against like Illinois randomly. So. This is a game where, you know what, Lincoln Riley, if you and your team have any guts, any nuts to put on the table, this is the time. This is the time to prove that, okay, you know what, we aren't this soft football team. We aren't just a bunch of soft California boys. This is the time, and look, I haven't seen it. I don't like playing that many points with Penn State on the road. This is an ultimate stay away for me. If I had to take anything, USC, but I don't like it.
Oh, Karter, don't do it.
I'm not gonna, but if I had to, it would be USC. And it's not great analysis, but I just think Lincoln Riley, I don't know. I really don't know in this spot. I don't want to lie to the people and say I know what's going to happen in this spot, because I know Ohio State's going to win by 2 scores against Oregon.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. That killer Ohio State strength of schedule.
Oh, yeah, same with that Oregon strength of schedule. That Oregon strength of schedule is so crazy.
He's ranked to win Boise State Heisman contender.
Oh, Oregon has played against the hardest defenses in the country. Oh,
Boise State.
Yeah. Boise State's defense, giving up 30 to Utah State, one of the worst teams in FBS. Quickly, BYU, Arizona. This is just a BYU minute for me. Big noon kickoff in Provo. I love it. I'll be at the game. I can't wait. And also,
day games in Provo.
Those mountains.
No. That's a good point, Connor. Arizona's the play here. Day games in Provo are not that not a great thing typically. BYU needs to make this a great environment because the number 1 overall basketball recruit, AJ Divansta, is going to be at the game, and Devin Booker's going to be at the game. just seal the deal in basketball. I don't care what happens in this football game. Seal the deal with AJ. That's all I care about. But yeah, I think the line went from BYU +1 to BYU -5.5. I think that's crazy.
That's a little scary.
And also that means like, okay, BYU's winning in that spot, but I don't like BYU laying that many points. I don't know. Some of their wins have just been weird, and they're just winning turnover battles. And the offense, I have a lot of question marks about still. But anyhow, anything else before we get into the parlay?
I'm ready for the parlay pick, Karter.
All right, let's do the parlay. Connor, what's your pick?
I'll start here. We're going to a team that honestly should have won last week that hosted College Game Day. We're going California +3.5 at Pittsburgh. I'm not convinced that Pittsburgh is a top 25 team. This UNC defense they beat last week can't stop a nosebleed. How much stock are you really going to put into that? If you look at the Cal defense, this is what made the pick for me. They've quietly been really good. They've allowed 13, 14, 10, and 14 points before this Miami game. And Miami only had 10 points in the third quarter before that insane comeback. Now, yes, the Cal defense folded like a lawn chair when Cam Ward got cooking, but they played them well for 2.5 quarters. Like, I am going to put some stock into that. Pittsburgh is a pass-heavy team. Guess what? California plays the pass well. Cal defense was 16th in opponent yards per game and 14th in yards per play before the Miami game, which really skewed some of those numbers, so don't look now. But I don't think it accurately represents how good this Cal defense has been. Miami's offense is first by a wide margin with almost 600 yards per game, so I'm going to put an asterisk on that. Pitt offense, 9th in yards per game, but they've played some horrible defenses this year. I'm going Cal +3.5. I think that game against Miami showed they can compete against some of these tough teams, and I think Pittsburgh's a fraud. As a guy who watches ACC football, I think Pittsburgh is one of the most fraudulent ranked teams that we're going to see this season. So give me Cal +3.5.
I can't agree with that pick more. Add it to my card. Oh, my goodness. I love Cal in that spot. Love it.
I think so, too. Mendoza's not bad.
He's not a bad quarterback. No, and also Pitt is a fraudulent team.
Yes.
They are. We saw Duke get exposed last week. We were 1 week away from Pitt finally getting exposed.
I think you're right.
Dylan.
I'm going to go to Eugene. Shout out Mr. Krabs. I'm going under 53 here. I won't take Oregon on the side. I do think they win, but I really do think that this is a game where both teams are going to turn the ball over. Red zone turnovers, I can see maybe 2 of those in this game. And I don't think either side is going to have much interest in throwing the ball at first, at least, until one team gets down. I think they're both going to want to attack on the ground. The clock will be ticking, and I think that both defenses will do a decent job at preventing those explosive runs. So I'm going under 53 in Eugene.
I like that.
I have 2. Ben didn't give us a parlay pick, so we're going to have to collectively pick one as us 3. What's one pick we all like? Over Red River?
Here. I mean, I'm going to take that, but
we can do that.
Dylan feels.
I don't care. I don't mind.
Over Red River?
Yeah, we'll do Red River.
How about West Virginia?
It's on my card.
I know. Mine too.
Yeah, I know. It's a great pick. It's a really good pick.
Syracuse -4.5, North Carolina State.
Oh man, that's enticing. State is so bad.
State's awful, but also is Dave Doran coaching for his job in this game?
What's your pick, Karter?
Yeah,
Arizona +5.5 against BYU.
Wow, fake fan.
Nope,
fake.
You took Washington money line, didn't you?
No, I took Michigan.
Bad pick.
It's the right pick if we started the right quarterback.
You have to get them off LinkedIn first.
National champions.
8 years of experience.
Give me Arizona. Give me Arizona with the points. Let's make it Red River over for the parlay pick, the other parlay pick. So, Red River over, Arizona, Cal, and then under in Ohio State, Oregon. I love that parlay. That's a good parlay.
How does it not hit?
Short parlay. Yeah.
I don't like how I have a lot of minus signs on my card. A lot of minus signs in big games.
There's a few road favorites that I'm going to back this week that's a little scary. I'm not going to lie.
This is a great week for teasers.
College football teasers.
Tease to zero.
I just wanted to piss off Dylan.
Oh, that's good.
You're going to tease the over in the Red River rivalry.
Let's tease that down to 40.
I don't hate that.
Of course you don't.
I don't hate that. Do a nice little 14-point teaser.
Tease the over there and tease the under in Oregon, Ohio State.
Maybe I'll just tease the parlay as well.
Get it down to what, +100?
I'll tease the parlay down to plus 100 as well, just for the fun of it, just to piss
Beautiful.
off Dylan.
Max play 5-unit 5-star
Max
tease
play,
parlay.
Tease parlay. Oh my goodness, I can't wait. Well, awesome. That's it from us at Connor_Sparrow, at Wilkerson 8 Dylan, at KarterKast, at CarterB8. Download SeatGeek, use code KarterKast, $20 off your first purchase. We'll be back tomorrow, NFL preview. Can't wait for that one. Cannot wait for this week of college football. 2 just phenomenal weeks of college football.
It's going to be great.
There's a potential live reaction coming Saturday night on the KarterKast YouTube channel and KarterKast Twitter and potentially KarterKast TikTok if we can get the tech figured out on that one. Make sure to tune into that. Subscribe to Dylan MLB show. We're getting ready.
Yeah,
for
we're doing
LCS,
it. It's working.
ALCS.
We're gonna wait until the CS to do another one. But Royals tied it up last night. I said they were gonna win games 2, 3, and 4 to take it, and all of them are 1-1 right now.
1-1.
So
First
we're
time
having some
ever,
fun.
1-1.
Having some fun with baseball. Go Mets.
Let's go Mets. I want the Subway Series. I want it on record.
Hate to break it to you, Yankees are not winning another game.
Okay, so
hot take, clip it.
I need to go to FanDuel and take the Royals because Dylan said so.
Take the
All
Royals.
right, sounds good. I'll go ahead and do that. All right, that's it. Subscribe to the show. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.